Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how to create an Android plugin to create Android widgets using Jetpack glance in Godot game engine. So let's get started. So firstly, if I have opened the documentation on how to create an Android plugin for Godot game engine. If you want, you can go through this documentation, but I have created a one cheat sheet sort of thing for myself with only the relevant part. So it's up to you whether you want to follow this particular thing or not. But yeah, anyways, let's get started. So I'm using Godot 4.3.0 at the time of recording this video, but if you want, you can use the higher version as well. So firstly, we'll create a Godot project. So just click on create new project, select where you want to save this project. So I will just save it over here. Okay, and I'll name it as my Godot project, and yeah, I'll just click on create and edit. Then given that we have to create an Android plugin, we also have to create an Android project as well. So I'll just open Android Studio. I'll just click on new project. Here I can select empty views project, click on next, and again I'll just name it as my Android project, and I'll just click on finish. Now the Gradle syncing will take a little bit of time for creating an Android project, so I think for me it would be pretty quick because I think it has already cached all the Gradle stuff, but still it does take a little bit of time. In the meantime, what we can do is go to our Godot project, go to project, install Android build template, and I have already installed this. If you are doing this for the very first time, you will have to download the template as well, but yeah, I have already installed it. I have already downloaded it, sorry. Now I just need to install, so I'll just click on this install button. So it had installed it for me. Then again click on project, click export, click add Android, click on this fix import. I want to use this Gradle build. Okay, and I'll update the target SDK to 35 because that is the latest. I know that Godot 4.3.0 does not support target 35. It only supports up till SDK 34, but 35 is fine. I have tested it with already 35 is the latest. That's why I'm using that. And even Jetpack glanced libraries which we will be using are targeted for SDK 35 and above. So yeah, that's why I'm updating it. Now here you will have to select which architecture your Android device is running on. If you don't know, select all four of this, but I know for me it is this one, so I'll just select this one. Then I'll just close this. I'll go to my Android project again. Then the first thing which we have to do is, once your project is created, you will see this Android drop down. If you're not seeing this, make sure you click on this Android drop down. Then we just have to right click, new module, Android library. I will give it a name as my library. You can name it whatever you feel like, change the package name to whatever you feel like, and then just click on finish. Again, this will take a little bit of time for the Gradle syncing to finish. Once our Gradle syncing has finished, we have to copy this particular dependency. Like I told you, I'm using Godot 4.3.0. so let's just wait for this Gradle syncing to finish. I think it should finish pretty quickly. Okay, in the meantime, okay, it's done, sorry. So here you can see it has created this folder called my library. So first you will have to go to Gradle scripts, and here you will have to open the build.gradle of your library or whatever folder name you have given, and then just scroll down, and here I will add this dependency of Godot 4.3.0. It is giving me a warning saying that use version catalog. So you can just what you can do is option enter. I'm on Mac, I'm not sure what's the shortcut for Windows, and you can click with replace with new version catalog for declaration for Godot. Even if you don't do it, that's fine. Basically it will so if I show it to you, if I just do something like this, it will do this, and then if you see, Godot is added over here, the version, as well as this has been added over here. I mean, if you want, you can do it. I don't want to do this. I'll just go back, undo it, and keep it something like this. Okay, now here you will have to go to libs.versions.toml and check your Kotlin version. We have to use at least 1.9.25. I know that Godot 4.3.0 uses 1.9.20 or something, but that is fine. we don't have to touch that particular Kotlin version. We just have to touch the Kotlin version of our plugin. Then we'll again have to go to build.gradle of my library, scroll up, and here we'll have to change the compile SDK to 35, and yeah, min SDK 24 is fine. Then go to build.gradle of our app and also change this to 35. If it is already 35, then well and good. If it is above 35, that also fine. And here it is giving me an error, so I'll just again click option enter and override warning. I know what I'm doing. Okay. Then inside of coming back to our build.gradle of our library, we have to add two dependencies over here. Once that is done, we'll add these two dependencies. So again, it is giving me the same warning. Just check the warning by clicking option enter. If new version is available, then update to the whatever is the latest version, but I'm already using the latest version. The warning is telling me to use version catalog, but that is fine. If you want, you can use it. If not, ignore it. So yeah, these two dependencies are necessary for using Jetpack Glance. So in case if you don't know what Jetpack Glance is, it is kind of like an extension of Jetpack Compose, and Jetpack Compose is a declarative UI library for creating UIs in native Android application. So yeah, so if you know little bit of Flutter or React Native, it is kind of like that. It follows that even Swift UI follows the declarative UI paradigm. So yeah, that's what it is making easier to create UIs with Jetpack Glance for Android widgets. So yeah, the next thing which we have to do is we'll have to scroll up, and here you can see the Android block. Inside this Android block, we have to add this particular bit of code. So here you can see I've added this build features compose equal to true, Kotlin compiler extension. Make sure this Kotlin compiler extension matches like 1.5.15 matches with Kotlin version 1.9.25. so I think these are very tightly coupled, unfortunately. So do check the documentation. In case if you're using some different version, you might have to change the Kotlin version as well. But yeah, for now 1.5.15 matches with Kotlin 1.9.25. and so this is boilerplate code which we have to write inside the Android block to make our Android plugin work with Jetpack Glance widget. So these are kind of extra thing which we have to do, and then we just click on sync now and wait for it to create download the Android dependencies for us. So it has downloaded all the dependencies for me. So the Gradle syncing is finished. Then we have to go to our library, go to Kotlin plus Java, and here we have to create a Kotlin file called Godot Android plugin. Once that is done, I will just copy paste some code. I will just remove this. So this should be your package name. So whatever package name was present by default once you created your Kotlin file, keep it as it is. Next, so these are all the imports. I think there is some error. Yeah, we'll come back to this error later on. So here we just have to write some boilerplate code. We have to extend Godot plugin. Then we have to give our plugin name. Now do remember this plugin name because we will be using in some other places as well. Here we are overriding this get plugin signals. I'm not really sending any data from our Godot Android plugin to our Godot app. So that's why I have not registered any signal, but if you want to register any signal, you can make use of this particular method. So here like let me go to my cheat sheet again, and if you want to add a signal, you can use this particular bit of code. So something like this you can add. Okay, and then if you want to emit any data, you can just use this emit signal which I'm using over here, but I'm not really sending any data back. So yeah, so here is our get. I'm just overriding this particular method called get plugin signal. Then here I have created one method called create widget, which we will be calling from our Godot side. So there are two ways of creating a widget. I will show you both ways. So one, what you can do is create a button inside a button or some kind of a UI inside your Godot app itself, and on click of that button you like indicate to the user that a widget will be created. So on click of the button, this method will get called and it will automatically create a widget for us. The other way is the user will have to go to your app icon, long press on it, and then click on the widgets context menu, and then the widget will be created. The second way is little bit not very clear. the user will never know whether your app has a widget or not. That's why it's better to display a button inside your application itself saying that okay, we have a widget for our app. If you want to create it, just click on this particular button. Now unfortunately this create widget thing can only be called from Android O and above. So here you can see I have marked it with @ used by Godot annotation, and here you can see that this is only present above Android O. So if the user is below Android O, then maybe you can hide the button or maybe send an error message back so saying that creation is not supported, you need to upgrade your Android OS version. So yeah, whatever you feel is correct for your use case. Then here you can see we get hold of our app widget manager. So again these are all the imports. So if you want, you can just copy paste this imports. I'll just remove the unused imports for now. And here you can see that we get hold of our app widget manager. Now we need to create this particular Kotlin file called my app widget receiver, which I will come back later on. So this is actually the starting point of our widget, which we will be creating later. And here I'm just checking, adding another check, is request pin app widget supported? If yes, then get hold of the main activity for our Godot application, and then just launch an intent. And once we have that, here you can see I'm just launching a pending intent. Even I don't understand much of this fully. And here then we just call request pin app widget, pass our provider and pass the success callback, and it will prompt the user to add the widget of our app inside his application, inside his device. I will show you that output later on. Then coming back to our cheat sheet again, we have to go to our Android manifest and add this bit of code. So I will just go to our project, Android manifest.xml, and I'll just paste this code over here. Now here this thing should be your plugin name. So my plugin name is just my plugin I'm using over here, so I don't need to change it. But this should be your package name. Now this is not my package name, so my package name is com.codingwithnobody.mylibrary. So I'll just paste it over here, and dot whatever it was the file name. So file name was Godot Android plugin. Okay, there is one more thing which we need to add inside our Android manifest. So before the application tag closes, this is related to our Android widget or app widget. So here you can see we have to use this receiver. Again, this is boilerplate code, so it references this Kotlin file. We need to create this Kotlin file. Exported is true. This is our intent filter, saying that again this is an action. This is boilerplate code, and here is our metadata. So we have to create this XML file as well, which I will show you later on. So firstly we need to use this create this my app widget receiver, because this is throwing an error over here as well, right? So yeah, first we will have to create this my app widget receiver Kotlin file. So I'll just copy this and right click, new Kotlin file, my app widget receiver. Then inside this particular file we just have to write this bit of code. So we have to write this to particular import, and here we have to override this glance app widget, and here it references another Kotlin file called my widget. So this will contain the actual code of our Android app widget. Now I will be creating a very simple widget. So yeah, this is just an entry point tutorial on how to create a widget, so I won't create anything fancy. So we just have to create another Kotlin file, right click, new Kotlin file, my widget. So I have copy pasted some code inside my widget. So firstly you can copy paste all these imports which I have. So I'll just remove this dead import as well as this particular one. So these are all the imports which I have. You can copy paste it. So here we are creating my widget, which extends from glance app widget. Ignore this error UI layout, I'll come back to that later on. And also I'll remove this, no, I'll keep it. And here we are just overriding the size mode exact. This is not necessary, but if you want to know the size of what your widget width and height is, and depending on that you want to change the UI, then you can do that. So here we are overriding this provide a glance. Okay, and it again, this is boilerplate code. We have to use this provide content, then the glance theme, and here I'm actually getting the size. Now here I'm using a box. It is kind of like a div in HTML. Okay, and here I'm just giving it some background color as well as some padding. Now if you have little bit of knowledge of Jetpack Compose in native Android application, you might notice that we are not using modifier over here, we are using glance modifier. So typically in Jetpack Compose you will use something like this. In case if you don't have any idea of Jetpack Compose, you can ignore this. But be careful, like if you have added some Jetpack Compose dependency inside your build.gradle of your plugin, and by mistake you import that inside your Android app widget, or vice versa, if you have import some glance dependency inside your Jetpack Compose widget, Jetpack Compose UI, then it will throw an error, and you might, I mean, it does not throw a proper error, it throws some weird error, and you might waste a lot of your time, because that happened to me. It's very difficult to figure out why exactly things are going wrong. So make sure, here you can see, apart from these three things, everything has, all other imports have this glance thing to it. Okay, so be careful with what you are importing. Currently we don't have any Jetpack Compose dependency, so you will not face that issue, but yeah, I'm just warning you guys. So here, yeah, I've given this modifier, and here you can see I've just created one text. Its text is hello widgets, and I'm also displaying the width. So depending on the size attribute, size value, you can change the UI according to whatever you feel like, because it's possible the user can resize your widget. So yeah, here I have given it some style, and I have given it some modifier in case if you want to play around with it. Now coming back to this on composition error, I'll come back to this later on. I'll just comment this out. So this is also not necessary. This gets called when there is an error inside your Android widget, which I'll come back to later on. Okay, next, so this error is gone. Now we'll have to create this particular file, but here we'll have to create 3 separate files for my app widget info, because there are certain attributes which are only available from version 28, SDK 28, and certain attributes which are only available from SDK 31. And if you see, our min SDK is 24. If I scroll, that's why we have to create 3 different files for this. Now don't create, again I'll go back to this. Now don't create those file inside this Android drop down, because that's it gets very confusing. Go to the project drop down, and we have to create this XML file. So go to my library src main. Okay, and here we'll have to first create a folder called res. So just right click, new directory res, and then inside that we'll have to create 3 XML files. So first folders, first just create XML, then right click again, directory XML -v28, and the last one is again new directory XML -v31. So these 3 files are created. Then I will copy this and create 3 XML files in each of them. So right click, new file .xml. Same thing I will do over here as well, new file .xml, and right click, new. If you want to use the XML resource, that's fine as well. I'll just show you one, something like this, and it will give you some boilerplate code, so you have to just remove this particular code as well. So we have created this file, so I'll just go to the main XML and my app widget info. Then we'll have to write some bit of code over here. The code for all these 3 files will be more or less the same, with some extra attributes in v28 and v31. So for the main XML file, we have to write this bit of code. So here you can see we are using this app widget provider XMLS Android. Resize mode I have kept horizontal and vertical. Update period, so after how much time you want your widget to be updated. Hours is a static widget, so doesn't really matter. And here is the min height, min width, min resize height, min resize width, and this is the initial layout. This by default I'm using this glance default loading layout. I will talk more about this once I show you guys the output, but when we try to create a widget, the widget takes a second or 2 to create. In the meantime, this glance default loading layout shows a spinning indicator or a progress bar, whatever you call it. If you don't want that spinning indicator, if you want your own UI, you can create that, but just for simplicity's sake I'm keeping this as default. I don't want to confuse you guys too much. The next thing is we have to go to v28, and here also I'll paste some code. So again it is more or less the same thing. The only thing is here I have added this widget features. Even I am not really sure what it does, but yeah, you can just copy paste it for now. Okay, so this is for v28, and the last thing is for v31. So again I have just clicked on it, I have removed everything else, and here I'll just paste the code. Again it is more or less the same thing. The only thing which we have added is this widget features, then max resize height, max resize width, target cell width, target cell height as well, and the initial layout is by default was already present. So yeah, this is the code for all three. So yeah, if you want, you can just copy paste this code. Okay, once that is done, again coming back to our cheat sheet, so we have to create this export scripts templates folder. So I will just close this. Then we have to, inside our library, we have to create a right click, new directory, export scripts template. Inside that, firstly we'll have to create this file, export underscore plugin.gd. So I'll just right click, new file, export underscore plugin.gd, and we also need to create one more file, plugin.cfg. So I'll just copy that and I'll paste it over here. Okay, now inside plugin.cfg we have to write this bit of code. So I'll just copy this and I'll paste it over here. Now this should be again your plugin name. Be careful with this. So yeah, change the description author to whatever you feel like. So yeah, that's it for plugin.cfg. Next, for export underscore plugin.gd. So inside export underscore plugin.gd, I will just paste this particular bit of code. And here again, this I have copied it from documentation, so everything will remain the same. You can just copy paste all this code which I have written. Important thing for you, this should be again your plugin name. So whatever plugin name you have given, then scroll down, this again will be same for everyone. And inside we also need to add this get android dependency, because we added 2 extra dependency inside our build.gradle, the android x glance app widget as well as the android x glance material 3 dependency. And whatever version you are using inside your build.gradle, use that. So if you see over here, I am using 1.1.1. we don't need to add Godot dependency because that is already present. So add this 2 dependency, 1.1.1, 1.1.1. so that's what I have added over here, export underscore plugin.gd. so over here as well as over here. So yeah, that's it, and rest everything will remain the same for everyone. Of course you need to change the plugin name as well. So now coming back to the error UI which I was talking about. So I'll just close everything else, close that. So like I mentioned, I mean the error could be anything. Typically this error UI layout gets called whenever you have a wrong import, but currently I can't really show you the error because I don't have any Jetpack compose import inside my build.gradle or dependency. But in case if something goes wrong and you want to display your error UI instead of this particular UI for your widget, you can use this error UI layout, and then you will have to create this layout file. So for that, just you will have to create this particular file. So again, go to src of your library, main res, and here we just have to right click, new android resource directory, and here you can select layout, click OK, and again just right click, new file, and here we will name it as custom error layout, custom error layout.xml. sorry, so I'll just refactor the name, error layout.xml, do refactor. Okay, so here it has created this. Okay, I'll just delete this because I need some boilerplate code. I'll just delete this here, do refactor. Okay, I'll just right click, new layout resource file, and I'll name it as custom error layout. I'll click OK. Now by default this is using constraint layout. If you want to use constraint layout, then inside your export underscore plugin.gd you will have to add the constraint layout dependency as well, just like we have added these two. I don't want to do that. I want to keep things simple. Because constraint layout is not bundled inside Android OS, I will use linear layout which is bundled inside Android OS, and here I will just display one text view saying that something went wrong. But you can just you can use whatever you feel like. You can use an image as well, but again just for simplicity's sake I am using this particular thing, and I will give it as something went wrong, something went wrong. Okay, and so yeah, now our layout, so in case if anything goes wrong, it will fall back to this particular error layout which we have created. If you want to see how your error UI looks like, it will look something like this. You can change the font size to, sorry, you will have to use text size I 30 sp, and you can use color as well, text color, Android. I will use the defaults Android holo red dark. So something like this your UI will look like. So yeah, you can use like this. Now what if I don't want to hard code this particular text, I want to set it programmatically. So for that you can't use this error UI layout, you will have to comment it out, and then you will have to override this particular method on composition error, and here we get hold of our custom error layout. Okay, we can remove this particular part, custom error layout.xml. Then why it was giving me an error? Unresolved reference XML. If I remove this XML, it is giving me an error. Use not allowed in remote. I'm not using constraint layout. I think this feels like a bug from Android Studio. Yeah, we will just keep it like this. I didn't face this issue in native Android or Flutter applications. Yeah, let's just keep like this and let's see what happens. Now I want to change this particular text, right? So you will have to get hold of this text view with the help of this particular ID. So the ID is text view, so that you will have to use it over here. So I'm already using that, and this would be your customized text, whatever you want to use. And then you will have to write this app widget manager.get instance.update widget. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I think from Android side, let me check my cheat sheet again. Sorry, not this one. Okay, then we just have, okay, so the next thing is I'm just inside my Godot folder where I created my Android project. I will just cd to my Android project inside terminal, and then we just have to run this particular command /gradle assemble. Now again, this will take little bit of time, so let it do its thing. In case if there is any error, it will tell us that as well. But in the meantime, what we can do is we will create this folder called add-ons. So I'll again open this. You have to go to your Godot project, create a folder called add-ons. Inside that, create a folder with your plugin name. So my plugin name is just my plugin, so I will just create another folder called my plugin. Inside that, we have to create a folder called bin. So I will just right click new folder, bin, and inside bin we have to create two folders, debug as well as release. So I will just create this debug folder, and then I will create this release folder as well. Okay, so this is done. Then we have to copy the export plugin.jd as well as plugin.cfg outside the bin folder. But so here we'll have to copy those two files. So I'll just go to my Android project. I will go to my library. I will go to export scripts template. I will copy these two files, and then I'll go back to my Godot project, add-ons, my plugins, and I will paste it over here. Now if I just open my Godot project in Godot engine, so inside add-ons, my plugins, open this file. In case if there is any indentation issue, Godot will tell you that I don't have any indentation issue. So yeah, for me this is fine. Then I will just click on create 2D scene. I will just save it. Yeah, name it whatever you feel like. I'll just run it just so that I have this root scene selected. It will not have anything. Yeah, so I'll just close this again. Then I will for the UI, I'll just go to 2D, and I just need one button to create a widget, right? So I'll just create one button. I'll just increase its size. Okay, and I'll name it as create widget. Feel free to name it whatever you feel like. I'll just increase theme overrides, font size. I'll just increase the font size to 30. Okay, then again I'll click on save. Then I will attach one script to this. Click create. Okay, then again I'll go to my button. I'll click on node. I'll add this press signal. I'll click on connect again. Next, you have to go to project settings, go to plugins, check this checkbox as well, click close. Then again I'll go to my cheat sheet. I will copy these two lines. So firstly, we need to initialize this, so I will just copy it over here. Again, this should be your plugin name. Then inside on ready, we have to write this bit of code. So I will just copy this and paste it over here. So here we are just initializing our plugin. We don't have any signal, so I'll just remove that. And this is giving me an error. I think there is some indentation issue. Why this is an error? Expected identifier, is this wrong? Expected identifier after dot. Okay, I need to remove that dot. So yeah, something like this. And on button press we just need to call our method. So I will just again copy this. Our method name is different, that I'll change. So on button press I will do something like this. So what was our method name? So I can just again go to the Android drop down, Godot Android plugin. Method name was create widget, so that I will paste it over here. Now let's go back to our terminal, and here you can see build was successful. So that means this my widget was throwing a wrong exception. So that was an Android Studio bug. Here you can see now the error is resolved. Now the next thing what we have to do is I will just open one more window for file explorer. This I am inside Godot project, and here I will go inside my Android project. So go to my library inside your Android project, go to build, outputs, AR, and here you should see 2 AR files. Now we need to copy these files to our Godot project. So go to add-ons, my plugins, bin. You need to copy the debug file to the debug folder. So I'll just paste it over here, but again we have to change the name to whatever is your plugin name -debug.ar. so my plugin name is just my plugin, okay, -debug.ar. Then I'll go to release folder, and then I'll copy the release file as well, and here again I'll just change this to my release.ar. So yeah, I think that should be it. In case if you are trying to find the debug key path before running, typically for macOS this is the location. So if you want, you can change it. I think now from Godot 4.3.0 it is automatically picking that up, so we don't have to do anything. But yeah, I think that should be it. Let me run my application and let's see if there are any errors or not. Okay guys, so here is the output. Now I will not click on this button first. What I'll do is that I'll just go to my home screen, and here you can see that this is my app icon. I will long press on this app icon and I'll click on widgets, and here you can see it is telling me, so this is my widget. If you want, you can change the preview image as well. This 4x5 I think is the grid cell width and height, I'm not really sure. And I'll click on it. I'll just click on add, and here you can see that it showed the loading indicator, and then it again, I'm mirroring my device so the output is little laggy, but here you can see this is our widget. Now the loading indicator which I was talking to you about was coming from this particular thing which we made inside XML. So this one, glance default loading layout. I will now just remove this widget. I'll go back to my app. So here again I'm mirroring my device so the output is little laggy. So here you can see this is our app. I'll click on create widget. Now it is telling me to add our widget, so I'll just click on add, and it has added the widget to our home screen. And if I go back, here you can see it has added this particular widget. Again, I'm mirroring my device so the output is little laggy, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.